If this were your uncle fresh out of prison after 20 years, what would you do?
I ain't you ain't saying that shit, nigga. Man, watch nigga. I told you from the jump, nigga. Nigga. I did not kill about you, nigga. Quit recording that shit, man. Ain't nobody recording this shit.
Welcome back to the Guardian File. Tonight, we have a gripping story that reveals the fragility of family ties and the consequences of betrayal. Imagine this: an uncle, fresh out of a 20-year prison sentence, stands in a driveway holding a knife to the neck of his nephew. He shouts, "You scarred me."
I told you from the jump, nigga. I did not kill about you, nigga.
Pulls him in close to whisper something that no one else can hear. What happened that led to this confusing moment? How does a family bond unravel so completely? He was once a loving family member, a man who devoted his life to caring for those he loved. But a wrong turn, an accusation of armed robbery, and a long prison sentence completely changed him. This story digs deep into what led him to prison, how his family turned their backs on him, and the dramatic event that occurred when he finally found himself free. We're about to unravel a tale of anger, betrayal, and the search for redemption. Let's dive in. Section 1. The arrest and its aftermath. Our story begins with the uncle, a man who was charged with armed robbery, a crime that shocked his family. From day one, he claimed his innocence, but no one believed him. This wasn't just another arrest. It was his first. And he couldn't fathom how it would alter the course of his life. Before his incarceration, he was the embodiment of family loyalty. He was visible at every gathering, standing by and offering support whenever it was needed. But as soon as the gavel struck down in court, his world flipped upside down. Instead of support, his family turned their backs, abandoning him in what felt like a deep, dark pit of despair. They condemned him, ignoring the man they once loved. Phone calls went unanswered, letters returned unopened. He soon learned what it truly felt like to be alone. Section 2. Life in prison. With no one to turn to, he entered the prison system alone, forcing him to adapt quickly. Survival is the name of the game behind bars, and he needed to hustle to earn money for basic necessities. Imagine being in a place where the simplest of hygiene products comes at a price and you have no one to help. Utilizing his job in the prison kitchen, he started stealing food and building a miniature grocery store within his cell. It was risky, dangerous, and illegal, but it worked. Inmates began to flock to his store, exchanging stamps, prison currency for his goods. However, a successful hustle in prison is like painting a target on your back. Recognizing the danger, he hired a few inmates to help guard his inventory. This choice would ultimately lead him down a dark path. Section 3. Betrayal and retaliation. His trust was misplaced. The very inmates he hired saw an opportunity to rob him. They stripped his shells bare without so much as a second thought. It was a betrayal that cut deep. In prison, gaining respect is everything, and being seen as a victim can make life unbearable. Realizing that he had to act, he stormed back to his cell and retrieved the largest shank he could find. His weapon of choice in this brutal world. Driven by hurt and rage, he confronted the first inmate involved. Supercharged with betrayal, he moved without thinking, immediately attacking. What began as a warning to those seeking to take advantage spiraled into something much darker. He went way too far, lost in a trance of anger. When the dust settled, the first blow had turned fatal. Realizing what he'd done too late, he also realized he would face the consequences for this act, a murder charge that would extend his prison sentence by more than a decade. Section 4. Long years in isolation. 25 years would pass, years marked by longing, pain, and an ever-growing resentment toward his family. The man who entered prison filled with hope emerged as a shell of his former self. Prison changed him, warped his perception of the world. Where once there had been warmth, now only paranoia and distrust resided. His anger began to fester, especially toward one person, his older brother. They had shared everything before prison, but the feeling of betrayal that accompanied his brother's abandonment cut the deepest. He longed for the day when he could confront him about abandoning him when he needed support the most. Section 5. Reunion and tragedy. Upon his release, he had an intense desire to address his brother, to confront the man who had become emblematic of his family's betrayal. But life isn't always fair. He discovered his brother had passed away just before his release. Heartbroken, he was left with one final reminder of his brother, a young nephew, born years after his incarceration. When he finally emerged from prison, he wanted to embrace the only piece of family he had. He didn't realize that this nephew bore a striking resemblance to his brother. During a family gathering, the sight of his nephew triggered a visceral reaction within him. All he saw was the face of the brother he once loved, now forever lost to him. Caught in a whirlwind of emotions, he didn't pause to think. In a reckless moment, fueled by anger and pain, he attacked, forgetting that this young man had no idea who he was or the old wounds that haunted his uncle. What unfolded in that moment was a tragic reflection of unresolved trauma, a man letting years of hurt dictate his actions. As the knife glinted in the light, the cycle of pain continued.
I ain't got that shit, nigga.
Man, watch
Nigga. I told you from the jump, nigga.
I did not kill both of you.
Quit recording that shit, man. Ain't nobody recording this shit.
The conclusion. This story is one of heartbreak, misunderstandings, and the complexity of family ties. It reinforces a bitter truth. When we fail to support our loved ones, we risk not just their alienation, but our own lives becoming entangled in the consequences of their solitude. As we close this chapter of our story, remember that every roll of the dice on the paths we take can have lasting effects. Sometimes the weight we carry from our past shapes our future in ways we can't predict. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment below your thoughts on this complex tale of family, betrayal, and redemption. Until next time, stay vigilant and keep seeking the truth.